The Walking Dead has had some incredible villains, but I would argue none are as popular as Negan, a character we were teased for so long, and when we finally got him in the season 6 finale, he shook up the whole show and dominated our screens with his threatening yet charming comedic demeanour. Negan had arrived, but it was more than just an arrival. It was a performance like no other. It was a true showcase of the horrors of a post-apocalyptic world. It was a moment our beloved group met the biggest, scariest threat that they had come across in the entire show. It was incredible. But what made it so incredible? Well, let's have a look, shall we? Negan didn't just appear in The Walking Dead, he was very carefully and cleverly built towards. This goes back to season 5, episode 9, titled What Happened and What's Going On, where the also incredibly popular character Glenn picks up and uses a baseball bat as a weapon, which felt like a nod to The Walking Dead comic books, and the character who killed Glenn in the comic books, Negan. But there was no appearance from Negan in this episode, or this season in fact, but it did put the idea of a possible appearance in the minds of many of the comic book reading fans. The next time we get a hint at Negan, or more so in this case the Saviours group, which is Negan's group, is in season 6, episode 6, titled Always Accountable, where Daryl meets 3 individuals seemingly on the run from something, or someone. These 3 people are Dwight, Dwight's wife Sherry, and Sherry's sister Tina, who doesn't last too long. In this episode, the Saviours, who were unnamed at the time, ambush Daryl, who ends up helping Dwight and Sherry before they betray his kindness and leave with his signature bike. Then during the best storyline, in my opinion, No Way Out, we get our first mention of Negan by a saviour named Bud, who teases the soon-to-arrive villain just before Daryl shoots an RPG into the group, deleting them completely from existence.
Yes, I am.
Now the Saviours had become a bigger, more important aspect of the show, as they would appear in several episodes in the back half of season 6, including the outstanding, underrated episode 12 of the season titled Not Tomorrow Yet, where our group for the first time went on the offensive and killed the Saviours at the satellite outpost, putting an end to the Saviours for good. Or so they thought. Our group had killed loads of these guys, but in the next few episodes, more and more Saviours just kept coming, as though they were being mass-produced like tins of Heinz baked beans or something. They just kept appearing, and then they captured Daryl, Michonne, Glenn, and Rosita. Side note, Dwight also shot Daryl here, but I think he healed super quickly or something because Daryl did not have any injury after that. Either that or the showrunners just forgot. But anyways, the season 6 finale was upon us, titled Last Day on Earth.
You want to make today your last day on Earth?
The episode that introduces Negan to us is a fantastic season finale, one which had some people hating on it because of the infamous cliffhanger that required a 6-month wait for the payoff in the season 7 premiere. Admittedly, I never had an issue with this. I actually regard it as one of the greatest cliffhangers of all time, but it really annoyed a lot of people. However, that's not all we're talking about here. We're talking about the episode itself, and more specifically the last 20 minutes or so of the episode. The setup for this episode has a pregnant Maggie in need of her doctor who resides at the Hilltop community, meaning our characters have to travel to get her the help she needs. Rick, along with Carl, Abraham, Eugene, Sasha, Aaron, and of course the mentioned Maggie, set out in an RV heading towards Hilltop when they come across a blockage in the road. The Saviours, who at this point in the episode have been beating up some poor guy and using him to show their power over people. This is also the first time we meet Simon, Negan's right-hand man, or as I, and I'm sure many others thought at the time, oh shit, isn't that Trevor from GTA 5? Rick has a very brief but very tense conversation with Simon here, and it ends with our group backing away in order to take a different route. Now I won't go through everything that happened here, but just a couple points. Our group do get stopped a few more times on this journey, and it's pointed out by Simon that there are plenty of ways for our characters to get where they're going. This makes us as an audience feel so uneasy. The longer the episode goes on, the more worried our characters become, and the more worried we as fans become, because there's just so many of these saviours. The group get blocked again and again by the saviours. They then come across a blockage where they see hints that the saviours have captured the other members of the group, and we then see the man who has been beaten up all episode left hanging to die. Finally, with nowhere to go, Eugene makes an incredibly brave decision as he points out that the saviours are actually looking for the RV, and they don't know the moment-to-moment occupancy of the RV. And after an emotional goodbye between all the characters, especially Abraham and Eugene sets off in the RV, giving the rest of the group the chance to get Maggie to the hilltop on foot. And all is going well until we hear this. And our hearts drop, along with the characters who scurry through the woods in desperation, running right into the trap so perfectly set by the saviours, as a bright light blinds Rick and co, and as if by magic, the group is surrounded by the biggest amount of saviours we have seen. Rick attempts to plead for a deal with Simon, who quickly dismisses the idea and lines the group up on their knees, along with the captured Eugene and the previously captured members of the group, before uttering the words, "Let's meet them." The music stops as the door of the RV opens and out steps an imposing man wielding a baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire, and the man's first spoken words in the scene are,
"Pissing our pants yet?"
Our group looks on as the man introduces himself as Negan. Then follows a crazy 10 or 15 minutes of Negan monologuing, showcasing his power and his presence. Negan first directs his attention to the leader of our group, Rick, telling Rick how many of Negan's men Rick had killed and how it is not cool. The way that Negan makes jokes here while still seeming so threatening is just a sight to behold. It's honestly frightening. The next thing that he tells Rick is that him and the group are going to regret crossing him, and that now they must give him their stuff or he will kill them. This just comes across so serious, which is so crazy to say when you see Negan have a big grin on his face. Negan then further explains what he means as he says he wants half of everything they have or find, and as viewers we know that is a lot, especially in the apocalypse. But it's a couple minutes in after making these demands where Negan says,
"You don't really think that you were gonna get through this without being punished now, did you?"
We then see Rick's face, a face we've seen on our screens for 6 full seasons, but now it is a face that just displays fear. As the slow, drawn-out speech of Negan's reached the point where he tells the group he is going to beat someone to death with his bat, which the camera then focuses in on as he shows it to Rick, playing with Rick's emotions. The camera then starts to show each of our members in the lineup as Negan casually walks back and forth contemplating whose life he is going to take, even taking a very small moment when impressed by the bravery of Abraham, who doesn't cower at the bat or the idea of death. He then approaches Carl, making jokes about how a kid should be reacting in this situation. Negan is just enjoying every moment of this, and then he sees Maggie. It is here where he jokes about putting her out of her misery, which is when Glenn stands up to protect his pregnant wife, but is very quickly detained by saviours and put back in the line as he pleads for Negan not to kill Maggie. Negan simply smiles at this and tells the group, "No one try that again." He allows this one time, this one moment, but they can't do it again, or else. Negan then takes a short moment to once again boast to Rick before he comes to the realisation that Carl is the son of Rick. In a moment of desperation, Rick begs Negan to stop, but Negan quickly shuts Rick up and tells everyone that he has to pick someone. He continues walking past members of our group whilst doing that signature saviour's whistle, before saying he simply cannot decide, but he has an idea. Thus begins the now iconic Eeny Meeny Miny Mo scene. Again, how slow and painful this can be to watch makes it more and more tense and more devastating for our characters. Everyone in this horrific danger as we watch through our screens, hoping someone or something will come and save our group from this. The camera begins to show us everyone in the lineup over and over, creating so much confusion over who this could be. Who will Negan kill? The music rises and rises as the person on our screen seems to keep switching from one to the next, and then Negan finishes the rhyme saying the final word. He points Lucille at us as we watch on in a point of view shot, still unsure who Negan is looking at. Negan raises his bat and unleashes it on us, stating that the person he is hitting is taking it like a champ. and he hits again. The sound of gasps, screams, and the bat coming down on flesh as the screen cuts to black with a blood splatter beginning to drizzle down from the top to the bottom. Negan had done exactly what he'd said and had beaten someone to death with Lucille. Now immediately when watching this, people were speculating who it could be that Negan had just killed, trying to figure out some sort of angle of who could be in that position. Lots of people were saying Glenn because of the comics, but no one really knew anything here because the TV show had differed from the comics a lot in many ways. But one thing was for sure after this scene, everyone would remember Negan. He was so ingrained in the minds of many fans that people were talking about Negan everywhere. Debates about the character went on for months and honestly still go on all these years later. The man had just entered a show, been given 10 or 15 minutes to monologue and left everyone in a state of shock, sadness and rage. I don't know any other character in any other TV show or film that has had this level of impact. Despite whatever anyone thinks of this episode, its cliffhanger ending, or the show as a whole following this episode, it's incredibly hard to argue that this is not the greatest character introduction of all time. And personally, I think it is. And so that is it. I'm not going to go into anything following this, as that could be a whole other video or several videos if we're being honest, but I really did enjoy making this one. I hope that you enjoyed this too. If you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing for more Walking Dead content in the future. Thank you very much for watching. I've been The Walking Dan. See you later.